Alright, we've started some filming. We're trying to film here in the middle of Greenwich Street with all the people. So yes, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. During the first episode, I told you how and when I arrived in Ireland. Over the next few episodes, I'll go into specific stories and anecdotes of my time during the first few months. However, today I'm going to give you a brief overview, synopsis of what occurred during the first 3 months when I arrived in Ireland. When I first got there, there was one objective. The name of the game was save money. Now, as you heard last time, one of those options for saving money was housing, and when I lived with my good friend Connor and essentially did a lot of couch surfing. So there was Connor for a majority of the time, but I also had a friend from UT who was also living in Ireland at the time. So my friend Devin, who I knew from being in this entrepreneurship club, she had moved to Ireland, specifically to Galway, which is on the west coast, whereas I was in Dublin on the east coast. I knew her from the entrepreneurship club, and her and I had become good friends throughout that time, and she had moved to Ireland just a few months before I did. So then when I got there, and she already had a place, she already had an apartment, I went out to Galway to visit her and to explore the city. I also took a few smaller trips out to cities like Limerick and Cork, and eventually went out to a trip to Kerry with Connor and some of his family. However, for the most part, I was living in Dublin. Took advantage of the website Couchsurfing, so I ended up staying on a few other random people's couches. You can sleep on their couch for free, however, they typically want you to help clean up or potentially help pay for food or something like that. The second opportunity to save money, of course, was with food. That came in two different types. The first place I found to eat for free was to go to the local Bank of Ireland, where they had this mini hot desking co-working space. Now, it wasn't a true co-working space because it was essentially just two desks or two different tables in the corner of one of their branches, but it afforded people like me or people like freelancers and starting entrepreneurs to have a free place to work, and they also had free cookies and coffee. So for the first few months, I was living off of breakfast as cookies and coffee. Then for lunch, I might go out and find something. I might get a little something that would be where the majority of my money would be spent for food. And then it brings me to the best option for dinner. Ireland is a huge tech hub, specifically Dublin, where a bunch of tech companies are located. So not only are they there, but they also host a bunch of these different meetup groups. So for different tech languages or tech concepts, they would have meetups almost every night of the week. And there were so many of them that I could consistently go to these meetups and get free dinner every week, multiple times a week. So one day I would go to Google and get some pizza. One day I'd go to MongoDB and get some pizza. And I'd go to Udemy and get some pizza. So as you can imagine, I ate a lot of pizza for the first few months. But remember, it was all free. The third option I found, which was less regular, but provided a more substantial meal. During the weekends, some of the schools or local businesses would host these things called hackathons. In the US, they're primarily run by schools and universities, where a bunch of college students come together and spend the weekend working on projects and, of course, getting free food along with it. The ones in Ireland were slightly different, but the premise was mostly the same, where a bunch of people, potentially students, potentially professionals, would come together to work on tech projects or business projects, and they would again also have free food. So between the Bank of Ireland, the meetups, and the hackathons, I did fairly well in saving money on food. I also wanted to find free entertainment, free games, free activities to take part of. In this case, the hackathons also make this list. So of course I would partake in the hackathons, I would meet new people, we would build some projects. I made a few decent little things. One of them at the University of Dublin was a little motion detecting instrument. Basically, whenever you waved your hand, it would play a different sound, and we would try to make music through hand gestures. Secondly, for entertainment, I found the local filmmakers group. So every Monday night, they would get together at this local pub and sit around and talk about films and talk about filmmaking. So that was really my entryway into what became a solid community and a solid group of people where I was able to make films and edit films and work on projects that other people were working on. That turned into a long-standing relationship, which will, I'm sure, be another topic of conversation in a future episode. But at the time, it was a very simple initial conversation, initial meetup. However, the first night that I showed up at the group, they were already planning on working on a film over the next few weekends. And so literally my timing couldn't have been better, because the same night that I showed up, they invited me to partake in this new short film they were working on. So my first film that we worked on in Ireland was with this group. So the first week that I showed up, they said, yeah, please come on board, show up, you can help us wherever you can. And so that was the beginning of my strong relationship with the filmmaking groups. Alright, we're here in stealth mode at Grafton Street, doing a bit of filming, getting a few of the last scenes. Yeah, so I'm here kind of on guard of patrol. Actually, I just see some right now, so let me get off here. Over the next few episodes, I'll go into more depth on some of these specific stories, specifically some of the hackathons, the one in Limerick that I went to, also the filmmaking group that I worked with, and how we collaborated and what we worked on, as well as an exciting trip that Connor and his family invited me on, where we went out to County Kerry to live on the coast and spend Christmas together.